You don't think I'd let you marry that beast, do you?
In the entire history of Game of Thrones, there are thousands of deaths. We've seen heads chopped off, bodies burned, and red weddings that traumatized a generation. But the most significant kill in the entire war wasn't a spectacle. It didn't happen on a battlefield. And the confession? It didn't happen in a dungeon or a trial. It happened right here, in a quiet garden, between a grandmother and her granddaughter. Most people watch this scene and see a sweet moment where Olenna comforts Margaery. But if you look closely, if you really pay attention to the grammar,
The only thing he wanted was what I'd given him the night before.
the body language, and the insane geopolitical flex happening in the background, you realize this isn't a comfort scene. This is a victory lap. What if I told you that in this single conversation, Olenna Tyrell doesn't just confess to a crime, she effectively defeats Tywin Lannister, neutralizes Cersei, and reprograms the future Queen of Westeros, all without raising her voice. I've rewatched this scene multiple times and it still hits. Tell me if it did the same for you. I'm going to break down exactly how she pulls this off, and trust me, once you see the child soldier programming hidden in this scene, you will never look at Margaery Tyrell the same way again. But to understand the checkmate, we first have to look at the board. The capital is on fire. Joffrey is dead. Tyrion is awaiting trial for a murder he didn't commit. Cersei is on a rampage, burning the world down to find the killer.
Take him! Take him! Take him!
The air is thick with tension. And in the middle of this hurricane, we find Olenna Tyrell, complaining about the smell.
You can smell the shit from 5 miles away.
She's planning to leave. She's packing her bags for Highgarden. And this casual demeanor is the first layer of the masterclass. While everyone else is panicking, Olenna is bored. Why? Because she knows something no one else does. She knows the game is already over. She won. Let's look at the confession itself, because this is a masterclass in what I call forensic linguistics. Most villains in fiction love to monologue. They want credit. They say, "I did it. I killed him." But Olenna? She is smarter than that. Listen to the specific words she uses.
You don't think I'd let you marry that beast, do you?
She never says, "I poisoned the wine." She never says, "I killed the king." To say that aloud would be treason. Instead, she asks a rhetorical question. You don't think I'd let you marry that beast? Let me explain it this way. This is a technique called agency transfer. By phrasing it as, "I wouldn't let you," she reframes the murder of a king not as a crime, but as a grandmotherly duty. She isn't an assassin taking a life. She is a guardian protecting her family from a beast. She dehumanizes Joffrey. You don't murder a beast, you put it down. It's pest control. And notice what this does to Margaery. Margaery is terrified. She's been a pawn moved between Renly and Joffrey, feeling helpless. But this admission changes everything. It tells Margaery, we are not victims. We are the players. Olenna absorbs the sin. She tells Margaery, in effect, your hands are clean because mine are dirty. It's a psychological reset button that allows Margaery to move forward to the next target without guilt. And speaking of the next target, this is where the scene gets dark, and I mean really dark. We like to think of Olenna as the cool grandma, but this scene exposes a brutal reality. Olenna has raised Margaery to be a weapon, a sophisticated, beautiful, smiling weapon. Look at Margaery in this scene. She's exhausted. She's a widow to a monster, and now she's being told to marry his brother. She is tired of the performance. But Olenna doesn't give her a break. She gives her a new mission briefing. Olenna explicitly pivots to Tommen. She says he will be a far better match. But she's not telling Margaery to just marry him. She's telling her to become what he needs. With Joffrey, Margaery played the bloodthirsty, exciting older woman. With Tommen, Olenna guides her to play the gentle, maternal figure. Do you see the pattern? Margaery has no fixed identity. She is a mirror. This is what I call the Highgarden Child Soldier program. Olenna has stripped Margaery of the ability to desire anything for herself. Margaery's only desire is the advancement of House Tyrell. And the strategy? It's the pedagogy of seduction. Olenna knows that Cersei is distracted by grief and rage. This is the window. If Margaery can imprint on Tommen now, before Cersei can sink her claws back in, the Tyrells win the generation. And Margaery executes this perfectly. That very night, she sneaks into Tommen's room. Not to intimidate him, but to bond over his cat, Sir Pounce. It is soft power at its most lethal. If that angle just cracked your brain open a bit, hit that like so I know it wasn't just me. But there is a massive question here that most people ignore. How can Olenna confess to killing the king and then just leave? Why isn't she afraid of Tywin Lannister? The answer is hidden in the scenery itself. The Tyrells are the gardeners. Their words are growing strong. And in a medieval war, do you know what matters more than swords? Bread. At this point in the story, the Riverlands are burned, the North is occupied, the Westerlands are out of gold, a secret Tywin is desperately hiding. But the Reach? The Reach is untouched. King's Landing has a population of 500,000 people, and every single one of them is eating Tyrell grain. This gives Olenna what we call leverage of existence. If Tywin arrests Olenna, the grain carts stop. If the grain stops, the city starves. If the city starves, the riots begin, and the Lannister regime collapses within a week. That is why she can be so casual. That is why she can admit to treason in the garden. She knows she is holding the plug to the life support system. She doesn't need an army in the city because the city is her hostage. Tywin Lannister has the throne, but Olenna Tyrell controls the stomach. And the stomach always wins. And finally, we have to talk about the episode title, Oathkeeper. On the surface, the title refers to the sword Jaime gives Brienne. But the content semiotics of this episode tell a different story. The sword is a lie. It's a stark blade melted down by Lannisters, a cursed object that fails to protect anyone for seasons. The real Oathkeeper isn't the knight in armor, it's the grandmother in the garden. In Westeros, knights swear feudal oaths to kings, but Olenna swore a shadow oath to her blood. By confessing that she killed Joffrey, she proves she is the only one strong enough to break the king's law to keep the oath of kinship. Look at the visual rhyme here. Jaime hands over a sword, a masculine, clumsy weapon. Olenna adjusts a necklace, a feminine, precise weapon. The sword wanders the wilderness, the necklace saves the kingdom. Think about her nickname, the Queen of Thorns. A thorn's biological purpose is protection. It exists to keep the flower safe from predators. In this episode, Joffrey is the beast, and Olenna is the thorn who kept the rose safe. She is the episode's true Oathkeeper. In the end, Olenna Tyrell leaves King's Landing. She tells Margaery, "I'd let myself be thrown from the cliffs of Casterly Rock before I'd let you marry that beast." It is a moment of pure, ruthless love. And it reminds us that in the Game of Thrones, the most dangerous players aren't the ones with the biggest swords or the loudest roars. They are the ones who are willing to do the unthinkable to protect their own.
I'd hate to die like your son. Tell Cersei. I wanted to know it was me.
If this made you rethink the character, you know what to do with the like button. And if this changed how you see the game itself, step into the empire we're creating here. Subscribe. Olenna worked with Littlefinger to save her family. But there was another Stark woman who didn't just work with him. She destroyed him at his own game. If you want to see how Sansa Stark took the lessons Olenna left behind and used them to execute the greatest trick in Winterfell history, click right here. You won't believe the details you missed in that trial.